Good morning. Boom breakdown. Paul Felder steps in short notice to fight Rafael Dos Anjos. I really like this fight. Honestly, for Rafael Dos Anjos, I thought Islam Makhachev is probably going to be a rougher fight when it comes to these two. Um, you know, Probably not a good matchup for him. I think Makachev would have the better grappling. He would have um, maybe not as much power as Paul Felder, but he'd be able to utilize his strikes to get inside and kind of take RDA down and kind of tire him out. Similar to how we saw Colby Covington do it and a couple other guys. But with this new fight, Paul Felder stepping in, who would have thought, right? We thought the guy was retired, but he's been training for triathlon, supposedly, running, swimming like a madman. He said his weight, was much closer than he thought it would be this far out, which is a great sign, because that's the first step. He only has 5 days notice, so to make weight on 5 days for a guy like Paul Felder, who's a huge lightweight, I was a little bit concerned, but when I heard that he was kind of within his range of where he would want to be, with only 5 days, then it gives you a little bit of confidence. I think he'll make the weight. I think he'll be fine. But stylistically, if I'm RDA, I'm wrestling the shit out of Paul Felder. I mean, I'm not going to get in there and just strike with a guy like Paul Felder, who is comfortable on his feet, most comfortable on his feet. His elbows are vicious. His kicks are vicious. Like, you don't want to deal with that. You know what I mean? RDA has very underrated wrestling and jiu-jitsu. I feel like, his top game is really good. He's finally coming back down to lightweight, so we're going to see how his strength holds up there and his weight cut goes and his body holds up at lightweight, because, we haven't seen that in a while either. But I feel like for him to come back down to lightweight, being older right now and being up at welterweight for some time, it shows dedication and a drive to, rejuvenate his career and get back to his winning ways and make a run at a title at 55. Maybe he figured out his weight and where his size, his body frame should be at lightweight, and now he's coming back down, so I think that's exciting. And we really don't know how Paul Felder is going to adapt to a fight. Training for a triathlon's one thing. I know from experience, like running, swimming, all that stuff. I'm not running 20 miles and stuff, but I could run, 4 or 5 miles, couple times a week, 3 times a week. But I'll go spar on a Saturday, and honestly, a lot of times running and swimming doesn't make me a better fighter. It gives you a little bit of a good cardio base. I feel like maybe jiu-jitsu, MMA practice, sparring might feel a little bit easier than usual if you're putting in your miles and you're swimming in the pool and you're really putting in that cardio. It gives you a good base, in my opinion. But as far as actually preparing you for what's to come in a fight, I don't really like to prioritize those things over MMA training. As my fight gets closer, I am always going to swim and run and stuff like that for my base cardio and for just extra work. But my priority is jiu-jitsu, MMA practice, sparring, striking drills, pad work. And I know Felder has, been doing some pad work here and there, but we don't know the extent of that. So I'm curious how prepared he's going to be in this fight. This is a 5-round fight. This isn't just 3 rounds where you kind of wing it and you can get through it. 5-round fights are not the same, You got to be really prepared to go 5 rounds against a guy who's probably not going to go away easy in RDA. So my pick is probably going to be RDA. I think sometimes when you step in short notice like this and you're the hero and you save the day and you're Paul Felder and you're in his position, you can kind of get complacent and get a sense of like, oh, I'm doing a favor. It's okay if I lose. They're going to love me anyways. It's going to be just fine. So, I think if you get into that false sense of, complacency, that can hurt you. So I'm going to go with RDA. I think he's going to win a decision. I think Felder's always going to be scrappy, always going to be tough enough to stay in there. But I'm going to go with RDA just because he's prepared. He's put in a full camp for a fight at 155, and I'm sure he's going to show up. And I'm sure he's going to be smart and mix up the wrestling and jiu-jitsu and probably tire out Felder a little bit, being that, 5 days notice. So that's that. Boom, baby.